Well, we are so thankful that you obeyed us and you sat just where you are. And Jennifer, thank you for sticking around to educate us and to just keep our antennas up and keep us alert. For those of you who probably did not see episode 1, we are still here speaking with Mrs. Jennifer Iannuzzi from the Wilton area, and she's the mother of a beautiful girl, Sydney, who has been diagnosed with the Smith-Magenis syndrome. And Sydney is 3 years old, so that brings you up to par, and you'll go to the website and you'll see everything, because we just want to go full force into the second part of that. We ended off on, during the first segment, you made several mention about a co-founder and all of that you're going. Who is this person and how did this relationship begin? Is she from the Wilton area as well?
No, she lives in Florida. I met Missy Longman through the PRISMS organization. When I first got set up with PRISMS, they sent me several names of people who were willing to be contacted to sort of, give you information or whatnot. And I called her early on. I still have memories of my first phone call with her. And, we spoke occasionally, then we emailed back and forth, and slowly but surely we developed a really close and unique bond. We got to know each other through the chat rooms, through questioning about the syndrome. What are you doing? How are you handling this? She had known about her daughter when her daughter was, pretty much 4 weeks old.
Okay, so I was going to ask you what made her so interested in the thing. She too has a daughter.
She has a daughter who is very close in age to my daughter, Sydney. Her daughter, however, was diagnosed at 4 weeks old because her daughter had a heart condition, and that red flagged the physicians to do some genetic screening. So she knew early on about her daughter. I met Missy when her daughter was 18 months old, so she had been living with it for quite some time. So she was a real support and help to me in those beginning early weeks to months. Not that she knew a whole lot about the prognosis, but it was extremely comforting to speak to someone who shared a similar life-changing event.
It's on the same journey.
Right, on the same journey.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes,
so we became very close, and as the years went on, closer and closer. We met a few times, which was very exciting to meet someone you only knew by phone and internet. And then probably about a year ago, we really began discussing the fact that where was research going? It seemed like it had hit a standstill, and partly for many reasons. One, the pool of researchers was so small, and funding was minimal to non-existent. We both felt very strongly that if not for our daughters, for the future of this syndrome, more needed to be done. PRISMS, like I had mentioned in the first segment, is a great organization, but it was time to grow. When you look at the world of autism and you go out there into the internet world, there's a million organizations.
Lots of things.
Yes, they have a lot of money, they have celebrities, they have everything they need to build something. But what it said to myself and Missy is that someone needs to start. We needed to start.
And I'm sitting here smiling and I'm thinking, my God, Missy and Jennifer started their own AA for SMS. You
Very
know,
true.
here you are, Northeast Connecticut, Florida.
Yeah.
Yet you all, both of you came together
Yes.
for a need. How powerful is that?
Yeah, it is pretty exciting, and it is powerful, I have to admit. And it gave something to both Missy and myself, a greater purpose than just what we were doing in the day-to-day, and it gave meaning to something that felt so, you know, hopeless at the time. And it's incredibly empowering to be proactive.
Yes, yes.
And that's what I think
yes.
you know, it served for both of us. And hence the Smith McGinnis Research Foundation was born. Really born out of just an incredible bond of two moms who really wanted more answers and refused to accept such a bleak outlook. Hopefully we can accomplish what our goals are and our mission is. We've had several successful fundraising events because really it all starts with money, unfortunately. Everything starts with money. And we're working really hard at building that. Our website is under construction. We're building a board. We're building a scientific advisory board. We have if all goes well, by year's end, we will have the money needed to give out our first grant early winter 2011, which is very, very exciting.
Yay, congratulations!
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations!
And you know, we're moving forward, and our hope really is it's still small. I admit that, and funding is still minimal.
But it's a beginning.
But it's a beginning, and our hope is that the momentum of what we're doing and moving forward, and the forward momentum will bring other people along with us.
Exactly, and the more conversations similar to this that you will have, is the more people are going to come, because it doesn't matter whether you're giving out one grant or two.
Right.
That's what is going to attract more, because people are going to say she's using what she has. She's not sitting around waiting to accumulate a lot of money.
Right.
She has a sense of urgency, and they are using what they have to get results.
And that's what we kind of are hoping for, just to get started and moving, and hopefully that people will join. There are a lot of families out there in the Smith McGinnis community that have started their own little organizations, which I think is great, because it builds awareness across the globe for all different reasons. Missy and I felt strongly that, you know, it needs to start with research.
Exactly.
So there are organizations out there that, you know, want to help other families get through the rough times, pay for therapies, pay for, you know, whatever services, which I think is definitely a need for, and families out there that want to help connect other families.
Exactly.
Which is also a wonderful thing.
It takes money.
It takes money. But for Missy and I, we really felt that you have to start at the top, which is the research. Without the research and the knowledge, it's very difficult to move forward.
That's right.
So I'm thankful for the other families who want to do all of that, but we really want to stay focused on raising dollars to expand the research team.
And then somebody else, and as the funds are acquired or made available to you, there can be another leg of the foundation that deals with something else. But
most importantly, sort of what we had spoke about in the first segment, really one of other, you know, in addition to gathering more researchers, what I would love to see happen as well is that new families that are diagnosed don't run into the same problem that I experienced.
Exactly.
That when they show up at the pediatrician, they know.
They're ready, because you are telling them what was happening to Sydney and other people.
More than that, they've heard of Smith McGinnis syndrome.
Exactly. So awareness important, the education, you know, for people to know.
I would love to have a place for people to go to that would provide them with a promise of hope. You know, that there is something we can do about this, that it isn't a dead end. Smith McGinnis syndrome is a very daunting diagnosis. It's frightening. It's a laundry list of possibilities, none of which sound all that great. Yes, I will definitely stress the fact that individuals with Smith-Magenis syndrome are extremely affectionate, loving, endearing individuals. Sydney has quite a following, and she really is quite engaging and somehow warms the heart of everyone she comes in contact with.
She has a little blog. She has her blog yet?
I know.
Does
she should.
Yeah.
She could. And she really makes people feel very special and very wanted and needed.
Yes.
There's a flip side to that, and that is the tantrums and the inability to cope with daily stresses. And I do believe that what makes this syndrome tolerable is that incredibly charismatic personality that she has. But you know, you can't forget the dark days of sleepless nights and tantrums that could last hours, and you know, the need for constant 24/7 structure.
Schooling. What's the schooling structure like for patients or maybe clients? What's the politically correct terminology? Clients,
either one of whatever,
persons,
individuals with this syndrome.
Right.
It's very difficult to educate an individual with Smith-Magenis syndrome in a typical school setting.
So they're homeschooled?
There are some people out there that have opted for homeschooling. I've definitely spoken to several families who've opted for homeschooling. But I've spoken with two women who are quite well versed in this syndrome. They work at a program down in Philadelphia. Elwyn, Pennsylvania is actually where they're from. And they've worked with individuals with this syndrome for quite some time. And according to them, the ideal school environment would be a very small class with a lot of individual attention, which, as you would know, we know is very difficult to come by in the public school systems, especially with all these significant budget cuts. But what I will tell you, just to plug a little bit of special needs, what Sydney has brought to her classroom, money couldn't buy that. I mean, she's taught those children sign language. She's taught them how to use all these augmentative communication devices.
Nice.
So although she might cost the district a little bit extra, she does bring quite a benefit.
She's giving back.
She's giving back.
She is giving back.
And I'm not just saying that because she's my daughter, but she truly is giving back. And but yes, it is very difficult to educate them. They need a lot of supervision, a lot of structure, and in a typical public school setting, it's very difficult to offer that.
At what stage of the relationship between Missy and yourself did the dialogue around the foundation begin?
I would say probably about 6 or 7 months ago, we had attended, actually probably over a year ago, we went to a conference, our first conference. PRISMS holds a conference every 2 years. So we went to that conference for the first time because...
Is it a United States organization?
PRISMS is, and then there's also a UK, United Kingdom branch as well. But PRISMS is primarily a US-based organization. So we went to a conference there. That was our first conference. It was the first time we met anyone else with Smith-Magenis, any other individuals. And we met with basically any professional who knew anything about Smith-Magenis syndrome. After that conference, we, went back to our homes, went back to our lives, and began talking about, where's the answer to this question, and where's the answer to that question, and okay, so they have the answer to this question, where are they going with it? What's the next step? So several months of back and forth, what's the next step? Questioning PRISMS a little bit, where are you taking this, where is it going? And also noticing the same names of researchers. The same X amount of people, which is not
maybe
that
the
big.
same funders.
The same, exactly.
Like any other research.
It got us to say to ourselves, to each other, I think we need more. And I don't think we're going to find it from the existing organization. And again, total in praise of PRISMS.
Yeah, we're not pointing any fingers.
They do a great job at raising awareness. Their
Mm-hmm.
conferences are phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Their services to new families hands down, no one does a better job of
That's
connecting
right.
families. If it wasn't for them, Missy and I would not have found one another.
Exactly.
They provide a great support system, but there were too many unanswered questions.
That's
for me.
right, and questions need to be answered.
They do.
You know,
And
and
when
you're
I
going to
see
get the
such-
right answer based on the questions you
Right.
ask, which is what Strength for Sydney
was all about.
Is all
and
about.
when I saw all these other disorders, syndromes, hearing things about the Fragile X community, finding new drugs in that area, autism constantly moving forward with the diet we mentioned, or with biomedical interventions, and even what you'd mentioned earlier about schizophrenia. Even medications for that, and people living fairly productive lives. What about Smith-Magenis syndrome?
And you know something? It's a blessing for the Smith-Magenis syndrome community that you and Missy has found each other, because it has shortened the curve, the result curve. The world will not need to be waiting as long as we have waited for all these other diagnoses that you have mentioned.
Right.
You all grab it while it's hot, and
yeah.
you're forging ahead.
That's what we're hoping. So
yes,
yeah. We're hoping to grow it, and in time, people understand it a little bit better.
So for the people who are listening out there, what would you like them to do to assist you and Missy? We can't ask for money on the show because it's a community access.
There's lots of things other than money that they can do. First and foremost, I would love it if they could visit my website.
Yes, say the website.
www.strengthforsydney.org. We are currently building the Smith-Magenis Research Foundation website. That is under construction as we speak, but for now, strengthforsydney.org is my fundraising website that has my story information about SMS. Missy also has her own, which is www.siennassteps.com, which tells her story. And for now, that serves as our, home base. But we would love for people to come and take a look.
Volunteers as well?
Volunteer to run an event, volunteer to bring the information back to their community.
If they can type,
right.
If they can make phone calls.
Anything would be helpful.
Everything that
But
you're
even
looking
more
for.
than that, go back and tell your child's teacher about a new syndrome that you'd heard about. Go to your pediatrician and say, have you heard of this syndrome? I watched a show, I read a website. These are the characteristics. If your child has special needs and you don't know what you're dealing with, pay attention to the symptoms. See if they match any of the symptoms. There's a lot of things, raising awareness that they can do that doesn't involve financial commitment.
And that's one of the things I was going to ask you too, whether or not Missy and yourself visit PTOs to do presentations.
We haven't done that yet. No.
Yeah, well, that would probably be a good.
That would be wonderful.
Wonderful thing to do. What can we look forward to, or what are you hoping the next 5 years would look like for strengthforsydney.org?
Well, I'm hoping that it turns more into the Smith-Magenis Research Foundation. SMSRF.org would be lovely to be born. And then beyond that, I would love to be able to begin building a team of researchers who are eager and to sort of think outside the box and begin to really get a good understanding of what is missing in our kids, how we can compensate for it, how we can replace it, whatever needs to be done. I'll admit I'm not a researcher, so I don't know all the correct terminology. And more than that, that we are lucky enough, blessed enough, fortunate enough to get the funds to do that. You mentioned that you want the researchers to be eager. What would that eagerness look like? Eagerness, what would it look like? That's a great question. To think outside the box.
Non-traditional.
Non-traditional. because I think that my fear has always been, I think you may have mentioned this either earlier in the other segment, 30 years ago. If everyone who wasn't the way they should have been was labeled, cognitively impaired, mentally retarded, whatever word you choose to use to describe it. And that's always been my fear. When you get stuck in that box, that's it.
That's right.
If you don't have everything you need, then there's no hope for you.
We speak, Jennifer, about our communities globally being so diverse. And a lot of conversation around diversity ends at color and ethnicity.
Yeah.
But what we are talking about now is part of that diversity.
Absolutely.
And we need to open our eyes.
Yes.
We need to be involved. We need to be observant, not only in our immediate communities, but we need to begin to view the world around us.
I absolutely agree with that, and that everybody has a purpose and that everybody's life has meaning.
That's right.
And to think outside the box, my biggest fear is always just to say, oh, well, we have no expectations, there's no hope, it is what it is, and I want more than that, It is what it is in terms of, yes, you have a special need and we'll do what we have to do to get through it, but beyond that, hope that you can make someone's life more comfortable, more adaptable, more functional.
Based on the people you have met at the conferences that you have gone to, and I'm not sure whether or not you have had the conversations with any of these parents around adult.
Yeah, I have had a few.
And what's the productivity of their lives like?
It's varied. It's definitely varied. One common thread is that they do need ongoing support for the rest of their life. I have yet to really come in contact with, and I have definitely not met everyone. So I want to preface that. So there's very likely to be people out there living independent lives that I don't know about.
You don't know, yeah.
But more than likely, they are not completely independent. They're in group homes, assisted living type situations. They definitely do have impairments. Truthfully speaking, that would be acceptable. The piece that I would like to change, the piece that I would like to improve, is the behavioral difficulties that these individuals experience. And that's what I would like to see a change for.
Yes.
That seems to be the most debilitating factor. An assisted living in the future, no, it's not the most happy prognosis you could want, but more than that, I want Sydney to be comfortable in her skin and, not to have such behavioral issues.
Wonderful. We have 4.5 minutes remaining in this segment. And I want to just tell you before we wrap up that just know that you have a platform to come whenever you think you have additional information to pass
I appreciate
on
that.
To individuals. But I want for you, Jennifer, to present a checklist, if you may, to the listeners. Because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking there are still a lot of people out there who are not yet diagnosed. But what kind of a checklist would you give the viewers to help them identify this and to help their physicians help them get this diagnosis?
I think one of the most prominent features of Smith-Magenis syndrome is maladaptive coping mechanisms for stressful situations. And what I mean by that is your 8-year-old, for example, responding to a difficult situation as an 8-year-old would. He might get upset, cry, go to his room, whatever. Children with SMS tend to react to stress like a toddler for the rest of their life. And that is the unfortunate prognosis. So a stressful, a difficult situation, if you see your child headbanging quite a bit, having unending tantrums, those would be triggers for discussing it with your pediatrician. Extremely slow global development would be another, trigger that I would talk to your physician about. Delayed speech is very prominent in children with SMS. That would be another reason I would talk. But more than that, when all of these things seem to come in one package, delayed speech, self-injurious tantrum-type behaviors, ongoing tantrums, those cognitive impairments, also short stature, very small for your age, tends to go along with the syndrome. Those would things that would red flag me to bring to the attention of your physician.
And when you include all of that in that conversation with your physician, and if you are still getting that motherly instinct like we all do get with our children, if you are not getting that test down, is it okay to go seek a second opinion and continue that conversation?
I would absolutely keep going. I saw, I had seen 2 different neurologists until we figured it out. And you just keep asking questions.
The right questions.
It takes a while, but also I think now with Smith-Magenis syndrome becoming, trying to get it out there and awareness about it. When you meet someone who has Smith-Magenis syndrome and their unique behavioral phenotype really would be all that it would take. And unfortunately, I think one of the questions maybe you're asking me is how do you get your pediatrician to appreciate that?
Yeah,
because it's
sometimes,
very difficult too.
Egos get in the way.
Yes.
And especially you have been to school so many years, and most physicians don't want to.
But it does take a lot of advocating on the parent to explain to them that this is different. Trust me, this is different.
It is different, and this is why I'm saying don't be afraid. Don't sit there and suffer. Go out and get a second opinion.
Yes, I agree.
It's okay. Ask the doctor not to take it personally.
Right.
And, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
really,
you
this
for
has been
coming.
wonderful. Thank you.
And I pray that we have inspired you, we have kept you informed, and we are here to empower you. Again, thank you and have a Merry Christmas.